Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plains. What is up, y'all? Adam Pecora here. Thank you for tuning in to Requiem for a Tuesday. And we're here to wrangle some twisters. Gonna be a fun one today. It's tornado time. Trademark. Finally saw both of them, actually. I was late on seeing Twisters. Not really due to having not seen Twister. I kind of just lagged, which then gave me the time to see the original. Now, you know, this came out 1-2 weeks ago at this point, so we're doing all right. But rate, review, and subscribe to Requiem for a Tuesday. Before we get into it, please leave comments. Give me 5 stars. Do the whole thing. Whatever you like. Spotify, Apple, or wherever. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. Also on YouTube. You can check out the merch at rfat.bigcartel.com. You can follow me on Leglam at adam.rfat. And we got music, Multiplex and Wolf X, me and a Chef Juice, who may or may not release Microwave Minutes episodes in the future again. But that show's there for the liking as well. Check out all the links in the description. Lots of fun, free entertainment for y'all. So first, let's talk Twister. The original from 1996. I don't know why the French thing. I think the Olympics are just getting the Parisian in me out, which isn't good. Fuck France, as you know. So, first of all, this movie was a phenomenon. It made $495 million. It's a lot of money for 1996. Honestly, Twisters might not even get there. So we'll get into that. I'm gonna try to do one at a time, but I'm recording fresh out the theater, so it may be hard for me to not bounce around. But I remember learning about Twister from my source of most of the information that I have. I love the 90s. VH1's all-time great pop culture synopsis of the 70s through the 90s. Unequivocally, one of the most influential things that has ever happened to me. I also feel like I vaguely remember this from the Universal lot. Did they have some type of Twisters thing there? I went there when I was a kid. I feel like there was some type of Twisters thing. Anywho, what a cast. I frankly couldn't believe just how many famous people are in this movie. Let's start from the top. Helen Hunt. She's nice. You know, who's more 90s than Helen Hunt? Good for her. What's she up to? I have no idea, frankly. What's the last... You know what? Let's do a little Helen Hunt side path here. Oh, she's been working. Good for her. I don't know what any of these things are, but good for her. Yeah, I don't know what any of this stuff is. All right. Well, glad you're still working, Helen Hunt. Oh, she was in the new season of Hacks. See, I'm way behind just on everything. It's really not great. Really not great. Anyway, I feel like I get her mixed up with Holly Hunter. Those names are way too close, and they look like white ladies. So it can be tough to distinguish them from each other. Bill Paxton, rest in peace. Who doesn't love Bill Paxton? Every time Bill Paxton comes up, how are you not happy about that? Am I right? Let's see. Next on the bill, Jamie Gertz, who I only know as the lady who can't spare a square in the Seinfeld episode. That's all that I recognized her from. And apparently she's, been in a bunch of stuff and is part owner of the Atlanta Hawks. So I guess you can say that she's maybe more than just the lady from one Seinfeld episode. Cary Elwes. I say his name ridiculous on purpose because I still don't really know how to say it. But I love him. Princess Bride will obviously live forever. Then we got another unbelievable ad. Philip Seymour Hoffman. I feel like this is pretty early in his career. What more can you say? One of the greatest actors in history, certainly of his generation. Gone too soon. We love you. Talk about anytime you see somebody, the movie levels up. I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman is, the greatest addition to any cast you could ever have. He can do literally anything, and he's great in this. What a fun guy. Alan Ruck. Didn't expect to see him in this. And these people have nothing to do, by the way. Bill Paxton and Holly Hunt are the whole movie, and everybody else just kind of hangs around. They barely even get introduced. Then, it gets a little less exciting from there. Yeah. Nobody else really. Super worth mentioning. No offense if you disagree. Whatever. Now, this movie, what I respect the most about it is this is shot out of a cannon. The movie starts. Huge tornado right away. It's set in the past, and a family's trying to run to their storm shelter just as the doors are shutting. While the dad is trying to pull them shut against the forces of a giant motherfucking F5 tornado. And he can't. And he gets sucked up into the thing and the doors fly open, but the family survives. And the little girl in that family is a young Helen Hunt. And then we just kind of, as I said, that's the intro, and then it's just boom, we're in the movie. We don't take any time to really do anything. Helen Hunt and her gang of friends are chasing storms. They're trying to deploy this weather research device they call Dorothy. And basically, it has to get close enough to the tornado that the tornado sucks it up. The tornado sucks it up, and basically they get a whole lot of readings on their computer that the data can be utilized to further prevent, maybe not further prevent them, but it can enable alerts to happen earlier because they'll have better data that they can learn more about tornadoes and whatever. It's so grounded in these people are weather scientists that it's yeah, whatever the fuck they say. I don't give a shit. Is it going to rain or not? That's really as involved as I assume most people are in knowing things about the weather. Oh, the wind does this and then something happens. I don't fucking know anything about weather. They can't get it right anyway, so it doesn't fucking matter. And so Bill Paxton, god damn it, I do that all the time. Bill Paxton is Holly Hunter's ex, and he essentially just pulls up because he's been trying to fucking divorce this lady for so long that he's already engaged to the Seinfeld lady. I'm not using any character names this whole time. And he's like, sign the fucking papers so I can marry the next one already, lady. Jesus Christ. But he pulls up in the middle of tornado season. Oklahoma, by the way, a hellscape. Why does anybody live there? I'm so sorry if circumstances have happened to you that result in you living in or around Oklahoma. Really seems like it has no redeeming qualities at all. You know, the Sooners are good sometimes. Like, I don't really know what the perks are. You know what I mean? But whatever. People seem to be into it for whatever reason. But anyway, that is like the setup for the whole thing. There's no more story than that. He left the lifestyle behind to go become like a weatherman on the news or something. And then boom, they're just like, they're chasing a tornado. Let's try to deploy the device. It doesn't work. Whatever. This was like a huge, one of the early big, like, hey, we're doing all special effects. This movie's nothing but special effects. Obviously, like Terminator 2, I would say, is like the modern breakthrough in visual effects that led us to where we are today. And it kind of just took everybody else a lot of time to catch up because James Cameron's a fucking lunatic. So I think that adds up. And so they're just like, fuck it, let's just show a fuck ton of tornadoes. Very famously, the cow going by. I remember that being like a big, distinct, famous thing. And that happens pretty early on and really quickly. And, you know, it's cool, but it's not as like in your face and ridiculous as I remember it being presented as. And then they also... That's when Carrie comes in, and he's like the rival storm chaser guy. Like, they're the evil ones. They're the X-Blades to the Team Pup and Suds of Bill Paxton and Holly Hunter. You know, little had to throw. You know, the example is Brink for all rival team sports. I just said Holly Hunter, too. It's Helen Hunt. God damn it. This movie stars Holly Hunter and Bill Pullman. No, it doesn't. And they basically copied his design for the Dorothy thing, and they're trying to do their own. So this movie's like a race to see who can get the data first and can claim credit for this thing and whatever. Who is the real tornado savvy people, whatever. And that's basically it. They just keep going back and forth to tornadoes, and then in between they'll kind of reveal a little bit about whatever backstory, you know. Helen Hunt kind of like reveals her trauma. At one point, Bill Paxton reveals that he's still in love with her and his girl's listening, and she's basically just, this is towards the end, but she's just like, just have her. Clearly you guys are in love and I can't compete with any of this crazy shit. This is psychotic. I don't even know you, is basically how that whole thing goes, and that just cleans it up for the rest of the movie, just to be like, all right, great. And it is right after she signs the papers, but she never gives them to him, so they can kind of just stay married. And that's nice. And they go to her mom's house at one point. I think that's maybe where he's caught on like hot mic revealing his feelings and whatever. But this is the movie's great because they just go tornado. Oh, a little lull in between. We regroup. Oh, another tornado. All right, here's another little like quick. We're at a rest stop. Let's have a little chat. Oh, another tornado. Get back out there. Like, this movie wastes no time trying to like really build the character. And here's the thing that I love. That's really what I love most about movies from the 90s. You just get jumped into a world and you find out who the people are along the way, instead of painstakingly being like, well, this person is from here and here is their origin and this is what led to where they are now, and then that'll lead. And that's the problem with the sequel, which we're going to get to in a second. But what I can't just, I can't let it go without really hammering it home just how much I admire that they're like, this movie's about tornadoes, not people. Here's a bunch of fucking tornadoes. And the effects, obviously they look a little dated compared to today at times, but for the most part they hold up and they don't really take you out of the movie. And this movie's just a lot of fun. And it's like, here's chaos, and the greedy evil guys at the end get too greedy and evil and they get sucked up into it. And they lose. And then finally they get to deploy the device in a crazy-ass F5, and they manage to survive by strapping their belts to some pipes. Obviously, is that going to work out? Probably not. But whatever. There's also a scene where they're like, they try to deploy it, and it doesn't work, and then they just kind of run for like 10 seconds, and now all of a sudden they're completely out of it, and then the storm just goes away. There's some silly stuff like that where it's just like, oh, okay, they can just stop and talk right now and everything's fine, even though they said it's urgent. So there's some moments like that where it's like, okay, maybe these people should kind of hurry up. The tornado's kind of coming. Pretty convenient that the tornado is taking its time, right, while they need to get these few sentences out. But overall, incredibly enjoyable and fun, and for the most part seems pretty outside of the things I just mentioned, where they're just like standing there and it just works out. I'm just like, oh, I thought we were in a storm. But for the most part, seems pretty solid in terms of, hey, don't get too close to that tornado. You know what I mean? Like, there's a couple moments where it's too convenient, but otherwise, solid movie and just fun. It's fun, and there's no fat on it at all. So I'm glad that I watched it. It is on Max currently. And that brings us to today, where we got Twisters. Here's the thing. You think like, oh, they're going to try to like really one-up it and like do something extra crazy. And I kind of respect that they don't. It's still kind of grounded in like, these people are scientists. So it's not, it's not like this one's like the Sharknado version. Although it does kind of have a crazy moment like that at the end, but we'll get there. It starts with this girl and her friends, and they're basically like the young version of the Helen Hunt team, and they're out trying to do like a next level version from the original, where they actually use the Dorothy device. That's kind of the only tie-in to the original to like help them with data collection. But their goal is to get close up to this tornado so it can suck up this like blend of chemicals, whatever, that would in theory like kill the tornado on sight, and like, it would save people and prevent tornadoes from going through towns and shit like that is the idea. However, they completely misjudge the size of this thing, and it's like a total F5, and all of her friends, including her boyfriend, get killed, and she manages to survive. Now they're in a car and they get out and run to an overpass. It's like, you're in the car, just drive to it. I don't even understand what the thought process is there. And one other dude who's like monitoring data from a distance also survives. Then it cuts ahead to present day. She's living in New York for like the National Weather Service. Pretty much implies that like the trauma from that led her to like leave the storm chaser lifestyle behind. But the dude who survived then pulls up. It's set like 4 or 5 years later or something, and he pulls up and he's like, "Oh, I went into the military and I made all these connections, and now I'm in like the private business, and we're like doing this crazy data radar thing with all this new technology that wasn't possible before. So now I need your help to like help me find the storms, and we'll go get this data." And then they pull up to Oklahoma. Glenn Powell shows up, who is absolutely electric every time he's on screen. The guy really is a true movie star. I said it for the Hitman episode. I'm all in on Glenn Powell. I totally get it. Guy's doing great stuff. He's like the rogue YouTuber guy who's famous on the internet for chasing storms, but they look at him like he's kind of a joke because he does like, you know, stuff for videos. His truck like digs itself into the ground and they stay in the middle of the tornado and film it and shoot fireworks into it and do gimmicky stuff like that. And he yells and screams and whatever. So they kind of look down on him. So the private crew then goes out and they try to do it. And at the very first attempt, basically 3 guys have to individually put these radars into the ground at different points. So the chick goes out with her old friend and has a panic attack because she thinks she's going to get killed by the tornado because of what happened in the past, and she blows it. And this is the same type of thing. They're like, we're in like the tornado hot zone. They're going to be popping up like crazy. And so Glenn Powell and his people like draw a crowd, and there's all these like tornado tourists and stuff there. And then they go find another one, and this time they don't put the radar in properly, and it gets blown off and whatever. So also like these dudes are like being followed by some British reporter for some reason who decides he wants to look at the American lifestyle of chasing storms through the lens of these like famous YouTubers, whatever. And then they're all like slinging shirts and shit, and everybody's like, you guys are corny and lame, whatever. And then it's revealed that like they're actually doing that to like help benefit the victims of people whose towns are ravaged by tornadoes, and it also helps, like, it funds food for them, and they like go to towns and clean up after and help out and all that stuff. And then they go to like, and he basically the whole story is he just meets the chick and they start to hit it off, and he follows her around and tries to hit on her the whole time. But it's like revealed he's a nice, cool guy and not like his persona. And he's actually also a super smart, sciencey guy and whatever. And they're all like really good people, even though they make corny videos, whatever. And it's just a lot of story. It's just like so much talking. There's still a lot of tornadoes in this, but like this movie's 10 minutes longer. It feels like it's 30 minutes longer. Like there's just so much talking. And then what happens? Then they go to the rodeo together on like a little date, and a sudden tornado comes and they have to go into like a motel pool, and a bunch of people die. And then she goes to her friend basically confronts her and is like, you need to move on from this shit. I'm like, all my friends died too. Like, it's your fault. We did this for your stupid project. And that's bogus as hell. And then she finds out that his company, the guy who provided the equity to make it all possible, just goes into towns that are ravaged by tornadoes under the guise of like helping, and is just buying people's land and profiting off of their misery, whatever. So then she basically kind of switches teams and goes with the other dude who goes to her mom's house, and they reveal she's like guarded about her past, and finally it all comes together, and she's like, this is what the whole plan was, and here's what happened, and it failed. And then they kind of work together to like revitalize that plan, and she hasn't looked at it ever since, and they realize kind of all the things that they missed and what went wrong because she was like a young dumb kid or whatever. So then they like reformulate her plan, and they're going to try to go test it again at a new tornado. But lo and behold, it's bigger than they thought, and it's an F5 and whatever. And it's about to head like straight for this town. And then the other dude has like a change of heart, and he leaves the evil company behind and goes to try to help them. And there's stuff in between, but really, again, it's just like a lot of talking, explaining all the things I'm explaining, and then there's this like non-tragic tornadoes in between that they're just chasing for fun, and it's kind of entertaining and cool, whatever. So then the big one happens, and it like crashes into a power plant. Now it's like a fire tornado and whatever. And, it doesn't get to like action movie from there. That just kind of turns into an even bigger storm. And they're all trying to take refuge at this movie theater. And they basically realize that they're fucked and that it's not going to help, and it's going to blow right through them and destroy them. There's no basements or anything like that. So the girl gets in the truck and goes for it, basically. She's like, I'm going to give this thing one fucking chance. If I'm going to save these people, this is the only way we're going to do it. And the tornado's so big, the truck can't really withstand. Here's the thing. The windows still don't break. Like, no debris hits anything. The tires are fine. Like, it all just works out every time. I find that to be a little silly. Anyway, whatever. You can say they upgraded all the glass if they upgraded a thing that can dig it into the ground. I guess that makes sense. Whatever. And then she gets out there. She's able to deploy the thing, and it works, basically. Whatever. The truck almost doesn't make it, but she manages to survive. And essentially, the movie is about the dude being in love with her from the jump, and then realizing she was never interested, finally, but then just being like, oh, but we're still like a good team and should be friends and can work together well. And he goes from hating Glenn Powell to being like, yeah, you should fuck this chick. You guys make sense together and you're a nice guy. And everybody just ends up liking each other, and they work together as a team. And then in the end, Glenn Powell follows her to the airport, and they basically finally confirm that they're together, but they don't kiss, famously, was the story I heard going in. And yeah, it's kind of dumb that they don't. And then there's about to be a tornado at the airport, and they're like, let's go save it. And then the end credits reveal that the journalist wrote the story about her, and that they're all in business together now, and she's like a new hot science prodigy because her thing works, and whatever. So maybe they can prevent tornadoes now going forward, and they're all like heroes of the weather game. Listen, good premise, great story, just so much time spent spoon feeding it to me. Twister managed to do it with like little 2-minute scenes of them like generally like talking to each other really quickly. That's my hang up. They just spent too much time building it all together, but the story worked. It makes sense as a sequel, using the connection to the original slightly and building upon it on a new version without it being some legacy thing where they need to have it be like Helen Hunt's, whichever one, Helen Hunt's daughter. It doesn't need to be Bill Paxton's kid. Like, nothing like that is a part of it. This is just a completely like original sequel. And it does totally work on its own. You don't need to see the original at all, although it helps to just see that the original was more fun. But the story was good, and Glenn Powell's a star. And, the tornadoes look good. Like, this one has no issues with the special effects not really working. It just wasn't. It was just kind of the same thing multiple times. Here's a fun tornado. Here's a bad tornado. Here's a fun, bad, fun, bad. And that was pretty much it. But go see it, I guess. It seems to be doing well enough. It at least made its money back. Now that it's being crushed by Deadpool, it might just fall off completely. But if you like tornadoes, go see them. Thanks for tuning in to Requiem for a Tuesday. I appreciate you listening. Let's get those numbers up. Rate, review, subscribe, and share these episodes. And remember, I are fat, you are fat, we are fat. Calculator.